Hi puzzlers! We are increasing the piece count today. Before I puzzled puzzles up to 3,000 and 4,000 pieces, but today I have a 6,000 piece puzzle for you. The puzzle is called Downtown. It's by the artist Ciro Marchetti and is from Clementoni. I really like this image because it's really colorful, and I thought it's probably not too difficult to separate out these areas and put these pieces together. There's a lot of blue as well, but yeah, I could finish this as well. I really enjoy puzzling bigger puzzles because I can spend more time with the puzzle. Because like a 1,000 piece puzzle, I can get this done in 1 or 2 days, and then I'm done with it and need something new. And I sometimes like to spend more time with a puzzle, and this is definitely possible with these bigger puzzles. And if you get bored with the puzzle or you get stuck, you can still try to puzzle a smaller puzzle in between while you're puzzling the other puzzle. That's at least what I do. But what you definitely need to do with these bigger puzzles is you need to sort the pieces. That's the most grueling part most often with these puzzles, and I also do not enjoy it, but I always take time, like 1 or 2 hours at a time, and see as far as I get, and then over a week or so I'm usually through sorting the pieces. Because with these puzzles I really like to have smaller chunks of pieces with one color or one texture that I can work on, instead of picking pieces out of the box where I feel I will go nowhere and just be lost at all. So I do not recommend that strategy, but sort through the pieces. And what I did is I tried to sort out the different elements of the building, like the rooftops or the tiles of the buildings. And also there's like the kind of floor that you can separate out, or the air balloons, for example. And then there's a lot of blue. Fortunately, it's rather easy to differentiate the blue pieces from the ocean where there's the sky, so you can separate those quite a bit. And then for the sky pieces, I sorted from lighter blue pieces to darker blue pieces. So I had 3 piles, one with the lightest one with the darkest one, and one with the blue pieces that were like kind of in the middle. And that really helped later on, because I started with the lightest areas from the horizon, and I just had a smaller piece or a smaller pile of puzzles that I needed to work with. So that definitely helps if you put in the time to sort through the pieces. Yeah, when I started the puzzle, I did not start to put the edge together in the beginning. I instead went for the elements that stuck out to me the most and I felt the most drawn to puzzling, which were the air balloons, for example, or the flags. I also started to puzzle, and the sails from the ships. So I started with the colorful pieces. And with this big kind of puzzle, I use different boards, and I start putting one element together on one board, and then try to puzzle the next element on another board, and then I switch between those boards. So when I get stuck in one area, I work on another one and work my way through the puzzle until I have finished a couple of elements, and then move on to the next. Then I continued with the lower part of the puzzle. In the water there is reflection from the building, and I tried to work with these pieces first. They were not so easy to figure out and which goes where. And after that, I went in and started to work on the roof pieces, because they are bigger chunks of red areas, and I worked on this as best as I could. But then at some point I wanted to get a better overview of where everything goes, because now I had different elements on my single boards, and I went and put the boards together on the floor in my kitchen, and I need to try to figure out to what orientation the puzzle fits on these boards. Yeah, after that I went back puzzling on these single boards, but now I had a better idea where everything went and had the pieces in place. But then I started working a little bit on the lake, but also on the horizon with the lighter pieces, and now it was really helpful that I had a pile with the lighter pieces and I knew where I needed to look for what I was looking for. The next thing that I tried to tackle were the fronts of the buildings, and I had sorted all these pieces into one pile, so I went in and resorted them. But these different kind of fronts are very similar, so it's not easy to separate them. At least for me it wasn't that easy, and I didn't really have neatly separated piles for each of the buildings, but it was okay to figure them out. Try to have the boards, sometimes two boards next to each other, and work on different parts of the fronts. I focused on were the lightest parts, which are the illuminated windows. And that's usually easier to put together before trying to fill in the rest around that. In the meantime, I also tried to work on the ship because some of the pieces belong to the ship. So on the one side I also had this already started. Yeah, in between working on the buildings, I also started working on the floor tiles. They were also not easy to figure out, and somehow it took a while to put these pieces in. And there were also these green areas of the bushes that I tried to put in. But since these green trees and bushes are smaller elements that are all over the puzzle, it's also a bit difficult to find out where everything goes, and it's not something you can work on as a whole and then you have an area finished. So you need to have smaller pieces and then figure out where they go. And here you can also see me jumping a lot between the different sections, because if I get stuck in one area, I just continue with another one. So working or switching between working on the buildings and the floor tiles or the greener areas, yeah, I switched around the boards a lot. Yeah, and then I figured out I can fit all the boards on my bed, so I can see the whole picture and work on this a little bit, which is a lot more fun because now I could connect the buildings a bit easier, and I also move the pieces around or the areas to figure out which area to fit on which board and try to not cut the elements at an unfortunate angle. So this also helped to see where things went, and then I tried to fill in the holes that I had. I also put the frame together at this point because I needed to know how far the puzzle would stretch, especially for the sky, because I wanted to know how many pieces I needed to put in, so get really a good understanding on how big the puzzle was. That's why I started to put the frame together as well. It definitely helped at the sides of the sky because you had a much easier time identifying what kind of piece you needed for the sky. And it was definitely helpful that I had separated these different piles of blue pieces, like the lighter pieces and so on, because I worked my way up from the bottom to the top. So I started with lighter pieces and then went for the darker pieces, and I sorted the pieces by shape, because in the end it's just blue. You need to go through the pieces and try your way through them, and it definitely helps if you have them sorted by shape and you can go through the pieces that you need. I also went back to working on single boards on my kitchen, because for this monochrome area, it's not really necessary to see the whole image. and it was just okay if I switched between those boards. If I got stuck on one area, I just worked on another board in another area. But then, yeah, the holes were getting smaller and smaller, and the less pieces you have, then of course the easier it gets. And in the end, I finished the puzzle. It was tedious with the blue, but it was a lot of fun. Put the whole image together. Yeah, so finally I had everything put together and I just needed to connect all the areas from the boards and then see the image as a whole. And it was a really fun puzzle. There's so many colorful elements that are really fun to puzzle, and It's also okay that you have the not so fun parts like sky or the buildings that were the more difficult parts for me. But after all, I really enjoyed the puzzle. It took me around 8 or 9 months to finish the puzzle, but I didn't work on the puzzle constantly. At the time I was working full-time and writing my master thesis, so there were stretches of weeks where I had no time to work on the puzzle. That's why it took quite a while. But I think I started sorting the pieces around Christmas, and then I finished in August, late August, September. Yeah, the more time you have to work on a puzzle, the faster it gets. But if it takes a longer time, that's okay as well. And even if you get bored with the puzzle and want to put it away and work on other puzzles, that's okay too. That's what I did as well. Because if I don't have a lot of time and a lot of energy to work on this puzzle, I just work on a 1,000 piece puzzle or do a 500 piece puzzle and try to speed puzzle that one. So you don't have to work on a huge puzzle constantly to finish it. The thing is, it takes up a lot of space. That's why I worked with these single boards, because I can stack them over each other and then they do not take up so much space. If I know I have time to puzzle, I leave them on my kitchen table and just put a blanket over it. And if I know I don't have a lot of time, I just take them and store them below my sofa. Maybe you can put them under your bed or somewhere else. If you don't have that much space, get some smaller boards, and then you can also work on bigger puzzles if you want to and if you enjoy that. After all, it's a really nice puzzle. I like the quality of Clementoni puzzles. The pieces fit really well together and they are not loose and fall apart. You can take smaller areas and place them where you need them. And you have all different piece shapes that you can work with. It's not like Educa puzzles where you sometimes only have the standard piece shape, which can be a little bit boring and a bit difficult. But there you have different piece shapes and you can sort them, and that can help you work your way through the puzzle. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. In the end, 1 or 2 pieces were missing. I don't know where they went. They dropped to the floor at some point and then my cats played with them, and then they end up somewhere below the kitchen, or maybe I vacuumed them up and then they are gone. I don't know where they went, but that happens. You can still enjoy the whole image. Yeah, that was it for this large piece Clementoni puzzle downtown. Have you done bigger piece count puzzles? Do you enjoy puzzling bigger puzzles, or do you like to stick to the 1,000, 5,000 piece puzzles? Write it down in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you next time. And maybe there's another big puzzle on the horizon. Bye!